One of the first things I got for this gun before I even bought the gun was a new magazine tube spring from Wolff Springs. It's a very cheap part. I paid about 13 bucks including shipping. And it's a little bit longer than the factory magazine tube spring. And it gives you a little bit more oomph when it kicks the shells out onto the lifter or elevator. I've never had any issues with that. I just wanted to make sure 100% for reliability's sake that it always worked properly. And Wolff Springs they're really well known in the gun industry. They make springs for all kinds of stuff, rifles and bolts, and I mean just about every spring for a lot of the popular guns. And they're cheap too, really. Like I said, 13 bucks shipped for this spring inside of here. And I'm glad I got it because it feeds reliably, it kicks the rounds out, it's really nice. It's still easy to load rounds, as you can see with these dummies here. Still very much a one finger operation. But when you load them, it really kicks them out hard, and it's nice. You see that it fires them out reliably. If there's any deformed ammo or something where I've seen the plastic isn't quite right, it's not spherical, it'll always kick out. I've never had any problems with this magazine spring. Granted, I never had any problems with the Mossberg one, but I never used it that much. One thing I don't know is that I also got the GG&G magazine follower, which we'll talk about later. But the combination of those two, the Wolff Spring and the follower, this gun used to be an 8+1. Now it only holds 7 shells in the tube, the magazine tube. Not a huge deal, not a deal breaker or anything. I'm glad I got it because it does improve the feeding functionality. And really, if you can't get it done in 7 shots, the last one probably ain't gonna help you. That said, they do make, you can get the Herter's shells from Cabela's, the 2 1/4 inch shells, and I think this will hold 8 or 9 of those, as is the stock one probably holds 9. They make some really short buckshot shells that, you can cram a ton of them in there if you want to. But really, 7 is plenty. If you fill it full, it puts a lot of tension on the magazine spring, and that may not be good for long-term storage and reliability, but 7 rounds fits nice in here. It's not too tight to load. It just feels good. So yeah, that is Wolff magazine tube spring, part number 17905 for the Mossberg 590. Again, this is the 8+1 magazine tube, so the parts will be different for the 5+1. Well worth it in my opinion. They have all kinds of other springs too. I recommend you check them out. One thing I forgot to mention earlier with the Wolff spring in the magazine tube, it shoots the rounds out really nice. However, there's a downside to that. When the round comes out of the magazine tube and onto the lifter or elevator, the next round in the tube also moves backward, but the shell interrupter bar stops it. Well, that magazine spring is a lot firmer than the factory one, and so when the shell comes in contact with the shell interrupter, it actually causes the brass of the shells to hit it really hard enough to dent. I'm going to try to show you a bit of that here. See, around the edge of the shell, it's gotten beat up. Not all of these snap caps also suffered. Come on. You can see around the edges there. This isn't a problem, and the way I fix it is I used to unload the shotgun just by racking it over and over and over again until all the shells popped out. That's not a good practice because the shells actually end up in the chamber, and it's a recipe for a negligent discharge basically. So instead of doing that to unload them, see, I think it's deformed the brass enough that it doesn't want to go in there. I need to get myself a new box of these, exchange them out every so often. So it comes back and the brass hits the shell interrupter pretty hard enough to dent. I mean, brass isn't a particularly hard material anyway, So instead of unloading it by racking it, I just push the shell stop bar in while applying pressure to the back side of the shell, which I showed you in the first video. It's a lot safer, and it doesn't cause this damage if you happen to have a high power spring in there. This damage is just caused by me racking the ammo out, basically. When the brass gets deformed like that, things may not work right, and ammo that you depend upon shouldn't be that way. So it's just safer and overall better if you reload or unload by using the shell stop, and it's very easy once you get in the rhythm of it. Very easy to do. So that wraps up the video. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please write them in a comment below.